At one point or another in life, we all find ourselves embarking on a journey, not knowing that we're searching for something until we find it. Or better yet, until it finds us. This unknown itch, talent, or journey that took you out of your comfort zone, that makes you a hidden gem. Let's take a look at one hidden gem that's using satellites in space to make life easier for us on our amazing planet.
I am Mustafa Al-Hashmi, the founder of Smart Navigation Startup. We are specialized in location-based solutions. We have two main products. One of them is providing the wayfinding and location-aware messaging and analytics using the mobile phone inside the big venues like shopping malls, hospitals. The second main product is we are analyzing the satellite imagery to give the local authorities actionable insights so they can make better decisions and cost-effective operations.
Now that our feet are on solid ground, let's head over to find out more about another hidden gem that's using technology to take us to a whole other dimension.
Mental is an edtech company that's developing a virtual reality vocational training platform. We're helping businesses connect their workforce and allow them to train from anywhere in the world. Let me plug you right in. First of all, it's a much faster way to learn. The retention of information is much longer.
EBRN team confirmed that there is no contact.
We're seeing a massive reduction in the costs of training by allowing the businesses to create simulations that would be otherwise impossible or very expensive to do.
There's so much tech around us. Sometimes things can get a little overwhelming, and sometimes we just need to breathe.
We help Arabic users to deal with anxiety, insomnia, and depression through a very simple app.
مرحباً، أهلاً بكم في اليوم الأول من برنامج التأمل لتعزيز الأمل.
You have to understand that inner peace doesn't have to be through a grand spiritual journey or a huge traumatic experience. It can be a simple thing like breathing for 10 minutes every day.
أن يكون لديك أمل هو أن تريد نتيجة تجعل حياتك أفضل بطريقة ما.
Don't forget to take one breath at a time.
There you have it, a small snapshot into the inner workings of the amusing Hub71's hidden gems. But it takes a village.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Badr War, and it is a privilege for me to moderate this exciting panel discussion today. Thank you all for joining us for this engaging and insightful session with some of Abu Dhabi's leading startup founders. These leaders will discuss their experiences and their challenges that they have overcome as entrepreneurs to sustain a viable tech startup. As a founder myself, I can attest to the challenges entrepreneurs face every day, but also experience firsthand the value that tech ecosystems can bring in facilitating mentorships, market access, funding, and growth avenues. As we're all aware, over the past few years, Abu Dhabi has emerged as a regional hub for technology and innovation, introducing disruptive solutions to the global marketplace. I am personally looking forward to hearing from my fellow panelists today about their entrepreneurship journeys from Abu Dhabi to the world. I'd like to begin by introducing and welcoming our panelists. We'll start off by introducing Victoria. Victoria is the founder and CEO of MindTales, which offers a platform that provides digital therapy courses and online counseling services to individuals in the UAE. MindTales' mission is to transform the emotional wellness landscape in the UAE by making digital wellness support accessible, convenient, and inclusive. Thank you for joining us today, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Badr. It's my pleasure.
Also joining us today is Jihad. Jihad is the founder and chief visionary officer of FortiGuard. FortiGuard is backed up by Hub71 and is on a mission to cool cities, and they are data experts creating outdoor Google-like heat maps to illustrate the elevated temperatures. Jihad, I look forward to hearing your insights today.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Last but not least, please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Walid. Walid is the CEO and co-founder of Hala. Hala is a digital-based car insurance platform that rewards you for driving safely. I am, in fact, a happy customer of Hala, and can mention also that Hala, in about August of 2021, raised about $5 million in Series A funding from some of the top investors in the region and globally, including Entree Capital, who led the round, Mubadala Ventures, EQ2, Global Founders, 500 Startups, and even Hambro Perks Oryx Fund joined the Series A. So congratulations, Walid, and we look forward to hearing your insights today.
Thank you for having me, and I'm humbled to have you, not just as a customer and a friend, but one of my mentors as well.
Thank you very much, Walid. All right, so let's kick this off. I'll start with a question to Victoria. Victoria, I was preparing for this session, and in one of your interviews, you mentioned that the telehealth market has accelerated about 10 years in just 20 months or so. So explain to us a bit about that. Why do you think it happened? How the market evolved in such a short time? And what opportunities do you see at the present time?
Yeah, thanks, Badr, for the question. So actually now we see that technology became a mainstream. And when we look at the data here, more than 50% of hospitals in the UAE using various IoT solutions. And 90% of doctors use smartphones and medical apps to provide healthcare. And we see this strong continuous adoption is due to various reasons. So first is favorable consumer perception. And when we look at the demographic here in the region, we see that majority of population is younger than 45 years old. And they are more open to use technology. And at the same time, we really have favorable regulatory environment. Here, the government and regulators are really forward thinking, and they actually made it easier for companies to implement telehealth solutions. And I think now telehealth market is moving beyond the urgent virtual care model and moving more into continuous and preventative care. So actually combining online with offline. As an example, it would be to use tools, diagnostic tools at home with the follow-ups, consultations in virtual care.
I absolutely agree. In fact, just over the last few months, for the first time ever, I've had similar services used at homes, particularly with my own parents, where it was super difficult for my parents to go to the doctor every month to just do simple checkups, pick up medicine, do different things. And with just a click of a button with some of these amazing services, disruptive services, all of that was done at home, to a point where the lab came home, got some testing done. The medicine, was sent home. So I absolutely agree. We look forward to more disruption that just impacts people's lives positively. Thank you, Victoria. I'll move on to ask Jihad. Jihad, you've recently done a successful and paid proof of concept with Mubadala. Mubadala is big in health tech globally. And I believe you're also doing another one soon with Aldar. All of this is part of the fellowship that you have as part of Hub71. Tell us more about this process and how such programs are supporting you and other startups in the ecosystem in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I guess it's a very fascinating story. When we came to the hub, we had a really fantastic idea, but we haven't yet tested it. And to test something in clean tech, you need to, one, provide the test bed. You need someone who's patient, and you need a lot of encouragement to go and apply, operate in a technical depth and see how you can design your business model so others would buy into this if they're market lead clients. It was fascinating. Like I said, when we came, we were introduced to Masdar, one of Mubadala's portfolio companies. And with their support, we went and operated on the ground. Not only that, we proved that the technology works, and it's just not an idea, but also a technology that could, help Masdar accelerating their ambitious goals when it comes to planning, sustainability, design, and all of that. But also allowed us to sell it. One of the very first challenges that I had when we started FortiGuard is, how do you sell it? And we didn't have an answer for that. But operating on the ground, really having that access with Masdar and the likes, helped us design the commercial model and not only operate selling something to local entities here in the UAE, but also design a structure that can be sold outside the UAE. And that's now why we're talking to clients in an international level. And we've been, I think it's also great because market access is one. Those networking activities are another. But having a drive to accelerate all of those activities at almost no time for a startup at an early stage is something that is very much differentiated or brings a huge value proposition to what Hub71 is trying to bring.
So would you say that these projects and pilots were kind of made Abu Dhabi a big sandbox for you to experiment and to model out your solutions? Is that how it felt?
Absolutely. So
yeah,
in every ecosystem, you have 5 pillars that operate probably separately or together. So you have the regulators, the policymakers, the government basically. You have the client, the private, public sector as well. You have the innovators, us, everyone here at the hub and also outside. And then you have the community, and last but not least, you have the investors. What is really different here at Hub71, the brand itself, is the fact that we have 2 more things to add to the ecosystem pillars. One, which is totality, and second is competitiveness. So all of those pillars operating together collaboratively are doing something that is differentiated than one achieving something as a standalone. And
awesome.
Third, competitiveness, the fact that today you're not only doing something for the UAE, so it's not that we have Hub71 to contribute to Abu Dhabi's GDP, but today we're contributing to the global GDP. And that's why we have an international setting, and we have an international setting locally driving a global impact.
Fantastic. Thank you for that insight. I guess what I really like about the pilots that you've done is the fact that usually startups with new innovative products and solutions spend a lot of time trying to convince people to just give us a chance. to demonstrate that our solution works. And that usually happens over years until someone believes in you, right? And says, all right, let's do it. But the fact that, you got the chance to pilot it in a real environment with the support of some of these stakeholders that you described, I think is fantastic. And I don't know of many cities or environments that invite people to do that. So congratulations. Moving on to Waleed. Waleed, I think I lived those days with you last year when we were walking in the corridors of Hub71 and talking about, your funding and the exciting action around that. You managed to do something that is extremely successful. You got your round led by one of the top investors in the world that invested in multiple unicorns. You then got others to participate, some of the biggest names in the region. It's a success case for a startup and an insurtech startup coming from the region with an ambitious dream. How did you do it? What role did Hub71 play in your fundraise and the success of that?
First of all, again, humbled by it. I don't really always see it like that, but now that you mentioned the lineup in that way, it sounds very interesting. How did I do it? I think one of the biggest and most important things, and I'm not saying it because we got better on the call, and it's not going to become a thing where just you and me are complimenting each other, but realistically, being in an ecosystem where there are other founders I can consult, like older siblings, the same way you might consult someone about a relationship because they've been through it as well. Being able to see that they're also going through something, that they're not perfect people, that it's okay that someone else raises XYZ in another country, understanding how to negotiate with investors, keeping yourself on the ground, because sometimes you can disagree with your co-founders, and having someone who has no stake in what you're doing give you their opinion is an opportunity that, again, like Badr was saying, we had day in, day out, whether it was with Badr or any of the other founders from Jihad, Victoria, and really dozens of other founders in the hub during COVID and otherwise. That played a huge role in me sculpting the narrative of Hala, weaving the company's vision around the extremely volatile time that we were in. I'm not going to bore everybody with talking about COVID. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we raised from Mubadala, we raised from Untitled Capital, who are seed stage investors in Monday, in Kazoo, in Hala, in many other companies as well. And to be able to be considered as a company from straight up from Abu Dhabi on the same stage as these other players is a big achievement for us. The recipe for the success, in my opinion, is consistently hiring people that are smarter than me. So this becomes difficult because every time you hire someone smarter than you, the person who has to join has to set the standard of what's the least acceptable kind of person that joins the company next. The second one is have the foresight and acceptance that you are not perfect and you could fail, and that if you're building something, avoid sunk cost fallacy. Meaning our previous product, which was a B2B product that we've recently sold to an Australian company, was great in its own, but we were not the right people to carry it. We are B2C people. We love selling insurance to people. We love interacting with the customer at the end of the day. Understanding that is my value proposition, is my purpose, and pitching that to investors with the credibility of Hub71 and the confidence that's given to me by mentors within the hub is probably a huge part of it.
Awesome. So you referred to a pivot that happened, and I witnessed that firsthand. Did you feel that the ecosystem in Abu Dhabi and the investors supported you throughout the pivot? Because a lot of times, it's a taboo. People are afraid to pivot for different reasons. I saw you in different conference rooms in Hub71 using different boards and drawing out your pivot, and then investors were coming in and out. Tell us a bit about that. I mean, was the pivot embraced by the new investors? And how much of that was done, at the hub or, in the ecosystem of the hub?
The entire pivot took place there. I mean, we were we came to the hub 3 people. We were the second startup that came after you guys. In fact, when I was there, it was just us and you on the 9th floor. The WeWork was still being built up, right? When the pivot took place, that was in between October and November of last year. It took 1 month to go down B2B and just switch up completely to B2C. The investors who invested in us didn't invest in the company. They've invested in the founders, right? It's super important because a lot of investors who invested in us at seed stage are angel investors who don't have a lot of understanding about insurtech to start with. So they saw a few guys with an idea about blockchain and insurtech and saying, okay, listen, let's follow these cowboys. I'm going to bet my money on these guys. When they saw the suggested pivot, they thought I'm crazy. They're like, no, it's not a good idea. I said, listen, do you trust me? Yes. Are you sure? Yeah. Fine. Listen, this is what I'm saying I want to do, because while I love, servicing the tail end of claim handling between car insurance companies, I want to compete with, and I want to build something way bigger. So just give me 1 month. And that 1 month, that trust that was given to us from the investors, from the mentors, from the ecosystem, the mental support that I would have downloaded Mindtails way back then. I needed Mindtails then, Victoria, I suppose. And it was
I was probably one of your first customers in the new pivot. So thank you for pivoting, because you've made my life much easier with with your insurance, superior insurance product, which I'm very happy using. Thank you, Waleed. Moving back to Victoria, we, throughout the last few years, we at Abu Dhabi have felt an incredible acceleration, and I would even go to a point, say, pioneering in some of the implementation of advanced digital solutions that holistically have enhanced the entire health ecosystem. Some things that have been created in Abu Dhabi and being exported globally. When we think about these advanced technologies, some of them include deep technologies, including, AI and the applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning in healthcare. Victoria, where do you see the long-term kind of play out in terms of AI and ML? And will we really fully transform these services through AI and ML and deep tech?
Yeah, thanks, Badr. So, we can see that AI has already changed the healthcare practices everywhere, and in particular in Abu Dhabi. And from different services such as appointment scheduling, tracking patient histories, having everything under one data pool, to prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. So first thing, we can just use AI to streamline admin tasks, and some of the healthcare providers in Abu Dhabi are already doing that. And that allow them to save costs and enable their healthcare professionals to serve more people. So after introducing the AI, the nurses can serve 10 times more patients than before. Another example is using preventative care. And Abu Dhabi, they have a Department of Health. They have AI labs, and they actually now working on preventative measure using AI. Capturing real-time data, now we know more about people and make sure we provide more personalized treatment. Although we see that AI came a long way, it still has many limitations and biases built in the algorithms. So I think human intervention is still crucial. And I think by combining AI and human expertise and intuition, we can significantly improve the way people provide healthcare. And I think this approach, this hybrid approach, will be dominant in the future.
I completely agree with you. I think having a human in the loop when it comes to building algorithms is super important in all sectors. I mean, for us in education, when we try to bring educational methods that have worked, that are proven, and bring it in the hands of every child around the world, is decomposing what was working physically and rebuilding that up and packaging it in a way that works in a much more accessible manner, but having a human that can control and make sure that the system is doing what it's intended to do and keep on optimizing for that. And I think all of us can relate to that. Thank you, Victoria. Jihad, I'd like to move on to you with a very important topic. Everyone's now talking about ESG, right? So whether you're raising capital from or partnering with strategic investors, ESG is an important topic. Even some customers ask about, what are you doing? What's your strategy for ESG? And at the heart of that is sustainability. How are you helping towards addressing sustainability? How is FortiGuard addressing some of the sustainability challenges out there?
So I can refer to one of our case studies down at Masdar City. One of the things that happens in cities when it comes to urban heat is that there is a lot of guesswork when it comes to making decisions. So if you are working with third-party developers, if you're working with the architects, with the designers, with the planners, and so on and so forth, you can't really provide predictive analytics to how things are going to be performing in the future and how are they performing today. And usually most of the decisions when it comes to planning are based on value engineering. So everyone just wants to save more because there is a number, but no one can save when it comes to sustainability. So usually that is the last matter to be discussed on the table. When we came, we took that guesswork out and we started to provide the data. So whenever a decision is made based on sustainability. And the interesting thing, Badr, is that sustainability can not only provide, so it doesn't become a cost, it becomes a source of revenue. And it can provide a lot of clients with profitability as well. And all of that is something that I think, let's say FortiGuard and other companies working with data and understanding the problem, measuring it and providing insights and solutions to clients to mitigate the risk of something that really touches the daily lives of our operations, CapEx, OpEx, and so on and so forth, is doable, is viable, and decision makers are looking for it today.
Awesome, thank you so much. I can totally relate to what you're saying, and I believe you being Chief Visionary Officer of this movement, you're playing a big role in the community in increasing awareness about the importance of sustainability. So thank you for that. Moving on to Walid. Walid, do you have global ambitions for Hala?
I have regional ambitions. So I'm going to keep my answers short because I'm conscious of time. But I mean, when it comes to Hala, there's 450 million people in the Middle East. I think the number is much higher now, but last I checked, okay? So if you say MENA-T, including Turkey, it's even more. We have the highest digital penetration, second highest e-commerce use. It's just insane how tech heavy and mobile first everybody is here. My focus is on ensuring that 450 million people, less than 1% of people in the Middle East have different types of insurance cover beyond health insurance. In comparison, in Germany, the average person has 2 to 3 insurance types of policies, from health insurance, motor insurance, life insurance, travel insurance, personal liability insurance, accident insurance, workers' compensation, all that stuff. So for me, insurance is such a boring word, and I even know that it is a boring thing. My job is to kind of make you tolerate it. My job is to outsource it to me. I don't want to make it fun for you. I don't want to put any nice buzzwords to it. I just want to make it less of a task for you. If your question is how is Hala scaling across the region, the fastest way to do so would be to find insurance partners in other countries within the Middle East that have our same vision, that want to digitize, that want to build a brand that is youthful, millennial, and actually provides the services it promises. All I want to do is I want to sell you the sizzle with the steak, not just the sizzle, right? And that's awesome. Something that a lot of people have a hard time doing.
So I'm picking up on your appetite for kind of like cross-border partnerships to help you scale across the region and beyond. Is that something that that you find quite accessible and available through the hub and through Abu Dhabi?
I mean, absolutely. Look at if we look from an investor perspective, Hamburg Perks is in England, right? Entree Capital is an Israeli, UK-based VC. There's, putting investors aside though, even partnerships and mentorships. We've been introduced to the CEO of Waze. We've been introduced to God knows how many other founders that we've met through the network of Hub71, whether it's
and customers.
And customers, we've met you guys, right? So I think half the hub is my customers, and it makes it a problem where I think one of the funny things is you had an accident, and the first thing is like, how are you? Good. What happened to the car? But jokes aside, yeah, the reach of the programs that Hub71 has on a weekly basis, there is, seminars on cryptocurrency, or, every now and then you get these large scale investment firms come in and give a lot of educational material, or just kind of sharing industry know-how. I remember even Paris Hilton showed up a while ago for an investment conference, if you recall, but that was very informative for me as well. But there's a lot of things that you could learn, I think, from the hub, and we were at the perfect stage to join it in 2019.
Absolutely. Moving on to Victoria. Victoria, there are different opportunities across the city, across the country and the region. From your angle, do you see opportunities between corporate entities and governments to partner with these ecosystem players to advance healthcare digitization in Abu Dhabi and the region?
So actually, we've seen a lot of changes in the healthcare ecosystem. And the delivery of care has broken out of traditional walls of the hospital and actually moving towards where we work and live. And this kind of change in the mindset provides a lot of opportunities for startups to take this opportunity forward and deliver very precise services. And at the same time, we see the shift in the mindset. And for example, employers now very much concerned about keeping their workforce more productive and engaged. When employees are happy, they feel supported, then they tend to be more engaged. And we can see the same at the government level. Now, mental wellness and well-being is at forefront at the government institutions. And we can see, with example, in Sharjah Emirate, introducing 4.5 work a week. So I'm thinking, like, with these kind of shifts in the mindset, we can provide different solutions which before were not catered to this region.
Fantastic. Jihad, I have a question for you. You mentioned the different pillars and components that make an ecosystem. Where do you think efficient and effective data systems and regulations lie in that ecosystem? I mean, what is the role of these data systems and regulations in terms of supporting a strong tech ecosystem?
They need to talk to each other. A lot of ecosystems are very much well established. When it comes to data policies, we have great regulations established here at ADGM in Abu Dhabi and in the country as well. A lot of clients are very much aware to what data policies are in place and how they should be implemented. And the requirements are becoming very much detailed. Now we have international data centers established in the UAE because of the requirement here. Now we have data processes happening in the UAE. Everything is generated in the UAE and back into the UAE. So you can see that the ecosystem is starting to not only speak to each other, but driving a structure or an architecture that services startups like us, bring innovation to the country. There is interesting when you meet with clients 5 years, I mean, from my experience, 5 years back, and you see today's client knowledge about how data or digitization needs to happen and what policies are in place and what requirements they wanna, be strict about. So I can see it happening, and I can see a lot of talking and a lot of implementation, a lot of doing as well happening here in the UAE.
Fantastic. Waleed, we can all agree that Hala in the insurtech space has been a success story that's emerged out of Abu Dhabi. I still remember the day I first met you and Kareem, your co-founder, and you were telling me your story that you had resigned as consultant, and I still remember you were wearing half a suit then. But really, you took that big step. You resigned from your secure jobs, you and your co-founder, and took a big risk. You relocated to a new city, a new country. When you think back at your, those early days, what role did the Abu Dhabi government and its incentives and plans play in paving the way for you and Kareem to create a successful use case or a case study that's gone from Abu Dhabi to the region? Share with us your thoughts on that.
Sure, that's a brilliant question. I mean, the cool thing is we have been in other accelerators before that, right? But at that time, we had been just 2 people or 3 people, Kareem, myself, and Harsh, our third co-founder. And when that happened, I feel that Hub71 was the perfect opportunity for us as a seed stage company that's graduating to what is known in Hub71 as an emergent stage company. The incentives that were provided from subsidizing payments in terms of office space, in terms of rent for all of our employees, in terms of everything else that was provided, from insurance to immediate access to mentorship and other startups. For me, one of the biggest things was access to founders. This is huge for me. The community, or the ability for founders to communicate with each other and discuss problems in a very genuine way. Like, listen, I'm dealing with this vendor. I'm having a problem here. Listen, I don't know about this regulation. Can you explain this to me? Yes, Waleed, don't ever do this because you're going to mess up here. Avoid this. Don't speak to this investor. Talk to that investor. Say this when speaking to that investor. And one of the interesting things is I can't think of anybody else in the hub that I've considered a competitor, even for fundraising. Obviously, there's a finite pool of money at that time. There was a finite pool of money that we could have raised from. But one of the coolest things that we had was, while I was raising from a certain company, even though I knew they had a limited fund, I would immediately introduce them to Badr, while Badr was raising from them. So that back and forth introductory kind of element, I didn't really find it elsewhere. So it's something that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, and it's kind of like it has a ripple effect, this positive energy we've seen manifesting and kind of rippling into the entire community. We talked a lot about your success stories, what has worked really well for you. Let's take the last few minutes we have on this panel to talk about, some of the challenges that you faced while scaling your startups, and what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs that might be watching us in terms of how to overcome these challenges and take that as an opportunity to scale or to grow or to learn something. Victoria, some last closing remarks and advice on challenges and how you can turn that, or how you have turned that into an opportunity.
So one challenge I face recruiting people, and I think a lot of startups here as well facing that. But I think with Hub71, they provided a lot of support, and even different startup focusing on that. So for example, now with other companies, we combine our pool of talents and see okay, I have this position and this position, and then we just exchange the candidacy. So actually it was very useful.
Awesome, thank you. Jihad, challenges along the way. I mean, there's no startup, and if we say that there's no challenges, then that makes it unbelievable. Or tell us what's been your biggest challenge and what helped you overcome it.
I mean, in a common language, clean tech, climate tech, we we're very much today a software, but that is something that came late and now hopefully it's going to take lead. So I think this is one of the challenges that we have at the region overall, as well as investments going towards early stage startups where there is a creation of IP and R&D work as well. We're very optimistic. Hopefully, again, like I say, we're taking lead and we're going to see a lot coming from this region, from, again, the UAE to the region to the world.
Awesome. Waleed, what would you say to fellow entrepreneurs as advice, based on your challenges? We've all faced tremendous challenges in different stages of our startups. Given the current challenges you're facing and something that you've overcome with your partners and co-founders, package that in a piece of advice to anyone that's joining us today.
You're not always right is something that I have to understand and learn the hard way. In fact, heck, in my case, I think 90% of the time I was wrong. But actually, it's through consistent failure that we're able to find what does work. So before our decision to do what we're doing now, so many other things did not work to get to where we are. And that could be in the form of who to work with, who we're hiring, what kind of role we're even looking for. And if you're consistently operating on your own without, kind of like Victoria said, without sharing with other founders, and then there's an echo chamber and there's nobody but yourself to listen to. And that's typically an issue that we don't face because it's not a single founder, right? There's 3 people here. So in the war room that I'm sitting in right now here, there's a consistent debating discussion on what the next steps are and what's right. And having a co-founder that is the complete opposite to what I am, that complements me so well, is so perfect because I get to, in Arabic we say basrah baid, I get to go so far with my thoughts, and that person brings me down back from La La Land to the real ground. So I think pick the right co-founders is the main one. Understand that you're not always right and avoid sunk cost fallacy. If you're working on something for very long, does not mean that's a good idea. Very valuable advice from all of the panelists. I would add to that from my experience that as a founder, I've learned to take care of myself, to be able to take care of my fellow teammates and my partners, and the whole company and the vision needs a lot of positive energy. And I think a big part of that is taking care of ourselves. Each one of us has a way to do that, whether it's an exercise, talking to someone, meditating, or doing whatever works for you. I think is super, super important. And I think we need to find multiple avenues and platforms and touch points to do that multiple times a day, to re-energize ourselves, to be able to bring that back to our teams and our ecosystem. And I think the last kind of piece of advice that I'd leave fellow entrepreneurs with is keep dreaming and just dream bigger. Don't let anyone stop you from dreaming. On the contrary, I would say partner with co-founders and investors that allow you and encourage you and support you in dreaming bigger every day. And that makes a big difference in terms of who you surround yourselves with. This has been awesome. I'd like to thank you all for listening and joining us today. I'd like to thank Victoria, Jihad, and Waleed. It's been awesome chatting with you as usual. I really believe that each one of you will succeed and build awesome case studies and success stories from Abu Dhabi to the world. And I look forward to watching you do that and being there for you and supporting you in any way possible. For anyone that has attended the session, thank you so much. And if you're interested in learning more about Hub71, check out their website, www.hub71.com. Thank you all once again. Thank you, my fellow panelists and entrepreneurs, and I'll see you shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. With this, we conclude this year's Hub71 Impact Event. We greatly appreciate your attendance, valuable insights, and support for Hub71 and its community, and we look forward to another successful year together.